Hey, have you played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 plus 2? It's a remake/remaster of the first two games in the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series that brings those classics to newer systems for the third time. I was hyped for this game when it was announced because I'm a huge fan of Pro Skater 1 and 2, and it was developed by Vicarious Visions, who not only made the N. Sane trilogy, but also created handheld versions of previous Tony Hawk games, some of which I've heard were pretty good. And this bundle lives up to the legacy of the originals, capturing the spirit of the classics while updating them in all the right places for the modern era. In THPS 1 plus 2, you need to skateboard through every course while completing specific goals in each one. You'll also collect stat points to upgrade your skater and level yourself up to gain cash and buy new clothes and gear. You can also complete challenges that you can turn in to level up faster and collect money, giving you more options for tricking out your skater. You're already familiar with this format if you've played a Pro Skater game before, and the game doesn't do much to switch up the formula. The classic goals from the originals return, as well as some newer ones, either borrowed from other Tony Hawk games or created for this entry. The levels haven't seen much in the way of additions, as Vicarious Visions stayed truthful to the original maps while giving them a fresh coat of paint, and these levels have never looked better. They're essentially one-to-one translations of the courses, with most of the new stuff coming through cool background details, like the drone that follows you around in Downhill Jam or the Neversoft tribute in Hangar. Of course, the most critical element of Tony Hawk games is how well they control, and thankfully, THPS 1 plus 2 handles like a dream. It retains the arcade-like trick inputs from the 5th gen classics and places them alongside movement that feels spot on. Vicarious Visions nailed the physics here, as they're realistic enough to make getting enough airtime and chaining tricks together a reasonable challenge, while still allowing for seriously wacky and outrageous combos. And the skaters are appropriately weighted, letting you perform maneuvers without feeling too floaty or too heavy, except in instances like transfers and acid drops, which ignore physics to help you land where you want to land. My only complaint regarding the controls is that turning feels too slow, which I get is supposed to emulate real high-speed skating, but it makes navigating narrow passageways a little frustrating. Indeed, there's a lot of nostalgic reasons to pick up this game if you're a fan of the Tony Hawk's franchise, and I'm happy to see that these games got the proper attention and love as Vicarious Visions brought everything over, as well as the new content that meshes very well with the old stuff. There are several skaters to choose from, including some who haven't been represented in a Tony Hawk game before, and it's cool to see a new generation of skaters rather than just sticking to the old school roster. Plus, there's the soundtrack, which, as you'd expect, is excellent. Most songs from the originals return, with some exceptions due to licensing issues, and while I am particularly sad that Committed by Unsane isn't here, 37 new tracks were added that more than make up for the omissions. These songs span multiple genres, moods, and generations, but all still perfectly match the feel of skating around and performing tricks. Really, the only thing in THPS 1 plus 2 I find lacking is the customization. You can create your own skater and skate parks, but both of these systems have limitations that prevent them from being thoroughly enjoyable. Skater creation isn't as robust as it should be, with most items locked to a few color schemes and only a handful of clothes allowing for custom colors. I don't expect every item to have full customization, but there's little opportunity to make crazy combinations, which may not be your taste in skater creation, it certainly isn't mine, but the limitation is still there, and as I said, other Tony Hawk games have done this better. By contrast, the skate park editor, when it comes to physical park creation, is fantastic, and it's one of the best tools for skate park design I've ever seen. Construction is simple, yet allows for versatile object placement, and given enough time, you could probably build just about anything you wanted. But while it's great for building skate parks, it's not great for making levels. It'd be cool if you could create your own goals, but even gap creation, a feature present in the original Pro Skater 2, mind you, is missing. Also, there needs to be more themes, since we only have 5 different locations to choose from, 2 of which are just other themes at different times of day, and I'm incredibly disappointed by the lack of indoor areas. You can still upload your skate parks and play other people's creations, but without more options for course design rather than just park building, it misses out on being the best create a park mode ever. But that's all side content, and the main game is such a good update of 2 well-regarded Tony Hawk games that they can't damper the experience. It controls phenomenally, the physics and momentum feel perfect, most of the extra content is a blast, and it shows intense respect for the originals while not being afraid to go in its own direction. It should please any fan of the franchise, and even newcomers will find plenty to enjoy, especially since the 5th gen versions are over 20 years old and it is admittedly harder to go back to them. This is the definitive edition of Pro Skater 1 and 2 for sure, but what I'd love to see now is a new game that retains the refined gameplay this compilation has introduced. This game could potentially lead to a resurgence of a series that desperately needs it, and considering it's already become the fastest selling game in the franchise, it's hopefully only a matter of time before that happens. But for now, this game faithfully and brilliantly adapts the source material while giving it a nice visual upgrade, and shredding these classic parks and doing kickflips has never felt so good.